This is In the Middle with Josh and Sarah Siders. We get it. You're probably going through something that's asking you to dig deep, think differently, and hold on against the odds.
So these are our thoughts about starting new things, shutting some things down, and being with you, right there in the middle.
Welcome back to the In the Middle podcast, the podcast for those of us who haven't arrived yet. I'm Sarah.
I'm Josh. So good to have you with us.
Yes. We are kicking off summer early.
Yes.
Early summer. We're first weekend. And y'all, where we are, it has been so rainy.
Yeah, it's been cool,
Soggy.
rainy, cloudy.
Yeah. Lots of indoors. We're like, summer. And then the pool is open for one day.
One day.
Our Parks and Rec is having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of pretending that there's no summer and having some silly social media. So shout out to Manhattan Parks and Rec.
Yeah, good job,
You guys are having a good time. So we do have a sponsor today, of course, because we wouldn't have an unsponsored podcast. That would be rude.
That's
and
silly.
And how would we make money?
That's true. So we're making money this week off of Weekend Plans Reassessment Bureau, where big plans quietly become let's just not.
Okay, wait a minute. So this didn't get killed by Doge?
This is a for-profit small business entity.
Okay.
Where Doge can't touch it.
All right. Good. Safe.
not.
It's an LLC or something.
Yeah.
When it said bureau, I was like bureaucratic. But yes, let's just not. Sometimes it is nice to convert your plans to let's just not.
Why did we agree to that?
I think they're running a summer special.
Oh, absolutely. Like all the big weekend, house projects. And you're like, I'm tired.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. This is like, I do tend to do like a lot of house projects in the summer. Yeah. It's like just there's that disruption to the normal schedule and the kids are around and you're so like, okay, let's just do this. I don't know.
Oh, you want to help? Cool. That'll make it faster.
Okay. Well, it is funny. You and I both tend to do our own thing. Because we work.
Oh, I didn't mean you. I meant the kids. But yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Well, when we are working on a project, I don't know about you guys. When we're working on a project, we have different styles. And to be honest, I heard Sarah Bessie say that like she's like it's good enough, and her husband is more precise. And I'm like, yep, that sounds exactly like us.
That is
and
it.
So, my way is like, just I'm like, okay, that's good. I mean, I do want it to be nice, but like I get tired of doing it. I'm like, oh, geez. So next. Yes. So this summer is doing some decluttering.
Yeah.
Doing some organizing, donating, just, as our kids have like officially left the, young child age.
Right.
We've gotten rid of a lot of things, but there's things to get rid of as we go into this next era. Middle school, high school, and the kids made a gym, like a home gym downstairs.
Yeah.
And so there's just this shift that's happening.
Right.
And
shift
it corresponds.
Happens, I've heard.
Shift. Tell me about it. It corresponds with us being in a midlife. And like, that it's this whole, we're going through this whole thing together. And it's been really interesting. And so, today's topic or, theme is the great decluttering.
That's right.
The decluttering that happens in your relationships, in your emotions, and also just in your house, in your stuff. And oh my goodness, if it isn't connected.
That's right.
Right?
I remember we had, I think 2 Sundays ago at church, the connection question was of the things you were trying to get rid of and donate and declutter.
Yeah.
What's been around your house the longest? And we were taking some like, inviting some, okay, who's got 1 month, 2 months? And someone was like, is that considered short term? Like, okay, 2 years. Who's got stuff 2 years? And actually we do. When I think about the back corners of the basement,
Yep.
Baby toys and things like that,
Yep.
that's like, we need to do something with that.
Totally. So what's something that you've had around for a while that like either you've recently parted with or you did part with, but it was like, oh, this is hard.
Cables, I think for men.
I did not expect this.
Yeah. Most men have a box of like cables or cords.
Okay, that is literally the most dad thing ever.
I know.
The daddest answer.
It is, and it's true. And it's like stuff that I've collected over decades of just like, I might use that one day. And I went through it and got rid of some things, or at least moved them to the donate box. So some things have not made it to Goodwill.
It's like usefulness sentimentality.
The emotional like decluttering and letting go happened. Now it's in the box.
Okay.
That's the thing, right? And so for me, it's not when you show up to Goodwill to drop it off. It's actually getting it into the box.
Oh.
I can do that now. It's just like the time and effort.
Okay. Yeah. That actually is really interesting because for me, I don't feel very attached to most things.
Right.
I feel, my mom and I have talked about this. She's not a really stuff person. So she has a few things, but there's not like a lot of sentimental attachment to things. So for me, a lot of things feel like clutter.
Yeah.
And become clutter. And so the hurdle for me is not deciding that it's not useful. It's getting it to Goodwill. Right. Because it feels like there are about 6 stops along the way. And you guys, I know I'm not the only one because I've had some of my girlfriends tell me this, but like I will literally put something in the car for Goodwill and drive that ish around for like a while.
Yes.
And then we go on a trip and we pack up the car.
Yeah.
And
and I move it back.
And then it goes in the garage and then I have to go put it back in to take it to Goodwill.
Or I open my car up. Like I'm going to load something into it and there's bags of clothes or stuff that I didn't put there. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? What do I do with this? So that's been.
It's not a good system, guys. It's not a good system because, and I know this is like when they think about, kind of classic ADD, it is that, right? It's I have a multi-step process and at some point, if it's 5 steps, it's 5 chances to break down.
Too much friction.
Yeah.
Right. You got to get rid of the friction.
And this is why I have always said, and I stand by this, that if somebody wants to invent one of those big Cat in the Hat vacuums that they use in the Cat in the Hat with Thing 1 and Thing 2, they make a mess, and he comes in with his little bouncy car.
Somebody could start a business, by the way.
And sucks up all the stuff.
Somebody could start a business where they buy a truck, a moving truck, and they go around and they just charge people to take their stuff to Goodwill.
And okay, that's actually hilarious because people do the one for the transfer station. Like there's people who are like,
totally,
or your
it's like tell me where to take
waste
this
management company.
or whatever. And like you can make
that's hilarious.
Some college guys could make some dough.
Is that like the reverse? It's like reverse Uber for
I pay you to declutter. I don't
donations.
know. I think some people pay people to declutter their closets.
I bet you that's a thing. I bet it is. Yeah. So business idea or maybe like a future sponsor. There you go. But yeah, it is hard. It's hard to let go of things. And it's funny because again, here I am driving around my donations. I'm not connected to them, but they're connected to me. Yeah. And that's something that I think is one of these, like when we think about even materialism or just like attaching to a relationship, a belief or things, we don't as easily part with them as we think we do. Yeah. Or sometimes, like we go, oh, here, I'm going to donate the cables, but then they're not donated yet. It's like parting with something is a multi-step process.
Yeah.
It is. And so I think like, for me, something that this is so silly, but I remember after James was born, I had my breast pump and like, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have another kid. So I should save this. And I put a note on on it that was like donate by June 2019. And it's still down there. Like I just like never go, in that closet. And I'm like, I need to, but it's like an electronic thing. I don't know what to do with it exactly. I could look it up and then I have to figure out, I have to figure out where it goes. Yeah. And then I have to drive it around in my car for 6 months. So, I mean, in a year it'll be gone, but it's just interesting because for me, that was something that was hard to say like, oh, that month and that year came and went and many Junes have come and went. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't need that anymore.
Right.
and that era has passed. And so like, it's interesting how I know for me, stuff that was related with the kids, I did feel sentimental about some of that.
Right.
Or like saying goodbye to an era of life. It's like, I didn't have my quote unquote last kid. Like I didn't decide that. Yeah. And so it's like this thing that feels kind of unresolved. And I'm like, should I get rid of it? Because it means that I'm saying goodbye to that era of my life. And I mean, we are. And that's the thing is like this season where the kids are in middle and high school, we miss them as little kids, but it's like we're in our auntie and uncle era.
Yeah, it's true. It's good. I like it.
So it's just so incredible how these things are connected to our emotions. And so I'm sure you can relate. But we want to talk also about the emotional decluttering.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are some of the beliefs that we have about ourselves, God, and the world?
Yeah.
About other people?
Right. That
have changed over the years. I think those are like 4 good categories, but even with like parenting or relationships, I think I've I feel like I've changed my beliefs a lot.
Yeah.
What is one, like, kind of myself, God, and the world belief that you feel like you've changed? Like, what did you used to believe in? What are you believing now?
Yeah, I think some of it has to do with my role as a pastor and sort of how I view other people and how the gospel says that anyone's redeemable and any relationship is reconcilable.
Yeah, totally.
And I have so there's a couple things with that has shifted for me. First is I no longer tolerate gossip. I used to, I think, put up with it a bit more because I didn't just want to. I didn't want people to feel chastised for it, but the more that I've seen it over the past couple of decades infect relationships, I shut it down so much sooner.
Yeah.
It is a toxic habit.
Yep.
And I know the old adage. I could quote it to you. You know, those who gossip to you will gossip about you.
Oh, I
totally get that.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
But I will actually try harder to root it out and not, like I'm not even nice about it. I just don't want to do it.
Yep.
Because it's like involving me.
Yep.
I'm a participant, and you get slimed by it. And
it does.
I will allow injury to even happen to the relationship.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I was trying to preserve before, is I didn't want people to think I thought bad things about them. But now it's like, nope, I'm not. This is not what I'm wasting my time doing. Because I think, is it the Eleanor Roosevelt, or she quoted somebody else, small people talk about other people. Big people talk about ideas.
Yes.
I want to be an idea.
We believe that.
I want to have a growth mindset. I want to talk about ideas. But when other people are stuck talking about other people, I'm like, I just can't even go there with you. So I would say that's one big thing. The other thing, being a pastor and seeing what's happened nationally, locally, all strata in between with ministry leaders is I don't really trust people in leadership.
Wow.
Especially the way I used to.
Okay.
It's sort of this trust, but definitely verify.
Yeah.
Because I think before, I'm just thinking pastors that have fallen over the last decade. Like before, you could like spot bad leaders, I think. Like, oh, that one's greedy. All they talk about is getting your money.
Yeah.
That one's kind of like fundamentalist and controlling. Their tone is very negative.
Yes.
But it's the insidious ones where it's like the sexual allegations that have come up in different pastors' lives that don't come up until it's an avalanche.
Yeah.
So I think like there's a lot of people that can say a lot of smooth things. I just find myself, I think I find my circles of influence instead of it being expansive like they used to be in my 20s and 30s, it's more selective.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's suspicious. It's just like I've just seen it happen over and over too many times where someone I looked up to or thought, oh, that's pretty impressive, turned out to really be more of a wolf. And I've seen it locally, I've seen it nationally. And so I'm just not as, I think, just to get a little theological nerdish, I think my theology of sin has expanded, like what people are actually capable of.
Oh my gosh. It's disappointing to find out.
It is, but it's like, yeah, actually I shouldn't be really surprised. I'm shocked, but I'm not really surprised.
Yeah.
Because it's like deception is just really terrible, and it's a massive problem these days. So yeah, that's a bit of a downer, but.
So you now realize people are capable of doing things that are like they're it's not this, oh, of course I trust you because you're a leader, of course I trust you because you're, it's like you know that people have this darkness, and that sometimes leadership, as we've seen and even experienced, like there's a lot of isolation and people with a big ministry with a celebrity involved,
right,
the people close to them have something to lose.
Right.
And so they end up protecting them because they're protecting themselves. And so, that really does end up being a problem. And so, it sounds like you've adjusted to go, I don't just assume that someone is saying good things and then like everything about their life is good and I can just hit copy and paste on everything they're doing.
I would say, I think like where I had assumed is because pastors ought to be, people of character.
Yeah.
They ought to operate where they are trying to serve and benefit others. And the reality is, like, there's so much self-preservation.
Yeah.
And we, we're told not to judge intent, but it's like, man, if you keep saying and doing the things that you're doing and you're not apologizing, cleaning up your messes and actually repenting, then I have to assume your intent is to actually do that, to injure people, to self-preserve, and to hoard power and money.
Right. Or just to recognizing the impact, like even if you're like, oh man, I keep doing that, or like I really have good intentions.
Right.
It's like to recognize impact, like, oh, I'm affecting you.
And at the end of the day, somebody telling me I had good intent, so?
I know.
So what? Like, clean up your messes.
Yes.
I don't really. So I think that's another thing. One more thing, and I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah.
Is that I don't actually care as much anymore about people's intent.
Huh.
I don't care what you meant to do. I want to talk about what you did.
Yeah.
Okay. You can tell me you're the nicest person all day long, but like, if you ran the car into my car, fix it.
Yep.
That's what I care about. So that's for me. That's like
I think that I helped create that metaphor, so I'm certainly on.
It's good.
I'm certainly on board with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you? What's some soul decluttering in your beliefs or your behavior or your relationships?
I mean, like I would say relationships when it comes to, being in a faith community for, I don't know, like I was in ministry since like 99.
Yeah.
And I always thought that like if somebody was leaving my church or my small group or like something that I was leading, that it was my fault.
Right.
That there was more I could do. I would always assess what could I have done. And to be honest, people will tell you it's your fault. They'll say, if you hadn't you did this, you did that. And so they really give you the impression that that's for you. And as a leader, you want to take as much responsibility as you can. And you have more responsibility because you're a leader. So I took all of the responsibility. So when I could tell that someone was like unhappy or I could feel tension, I would sort of like snap into this like high performance mode. I would try to read their mind. I would try to, help them, serve them, elevate them, give them opportunities, pacify them. I mean, I would work so hard. And I remember like doing that more and more and more and more through like, my 30s. And I got to like 2017 where I had worked so hard. And I remember there was, some people that didn't want to be part of the community. And I had just like, they were my friends and I invested so much. I'm sure that they felt that they did as well, but I knew that like, I knew what I was doing. I knew that I was pulling out all the stops because I thought this is me, like, sticking my finger in the dike. Like, I'm going to prevent this. And I couldn't. And I remember just being like, I did everything in my playbook and I still couldn't keep them. And again, like, a couple years later, I did everything in my playbook. And loyalty for me is often like tangled up with abandonment. Like I'm loyal and I hope people are loyal because I don't want to get left. And I went into the wrong volunteer field, in ministry, because like ministry is just a circle of that. And, clearly my soul wants to confront that because otherwise, why would I do this? But it was really hard. So the belief I had that I could have, follow the playbook, be so helpful, so self-sacrificing, so complimentary, so accommodating, that all of those things would keep people in my life, those people all left. And the more they asked of me, the more likely they were to leave. And so that was like really interesting for me to realize. But what's also been so cool, it's that the opposite is true. That somebody who is like lower maintenance, that has room for me to be a human, that can like tell me what they're thinking along the way and be like, oh, this is kind of frustrating. I don't like that. And, they don't give you like an exit interview. Like, here's everything I've been thinking for the last 5 years. I've never told you. And you're like, gosh, that's not helpful. How is that a friendship? What are we doing here? And so like, I think that that's been a big thing, is just knowing like I won't be able to keep people, and diminishing myself and laying myself down in a way that is intended to keep people. It's like, there's some selfish intent as well. Mm-hmm. That's not purely altruistic. If I'm doing things in order to keep a person, like maybe they need to move on. Maybe they need to go somewhere else. Maybe they need to, their journey is for them to go, or they're going to move. They're going to do something. Like me being all like faux self-sacrificing, that's just selfishness. So that was a real like, awareness for me. And it makes room for people to be on the journey, to be who they are. Like, hey, that you're here for a time. Like, I honor you. I honor your presence here. Like, I'm so glad you're here. And at some point you're going to move on. And I don't know how that will go. And I can't say how it will go. I hope that we have a relationship where we can talk through things. I hope that you feel like you can say, but I can't, if someone doesn't tell me how I'm coming across, they don't share the impact that I'm having. Right. I'm trusting my intent.
Right.
And that's all there is. And so I think like, I'm just making more room for myself to like, I don't have to be perfect, because perfection doesn't get me what I want anyway.
Right.
And so I'm just going to have to like crash around in this world with friends and foes and people who don't like me anymore and people who say mean things about me, or who misunderstand. And it's so hard for me, like with ADD and some of these other, my personality type, all this stuff, being misunderstood is one of my like deepest level fears. It's like primal. And I over-explain myself, because I'll be like, I just want someone to understand. Like if they understand, then they wouldn't be as upset with me. And it's like, no, because that's the intent and impact thing, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, please just understand my intent. And it's like, yeah, well, are you going to clean up your mess? Right. And so I do still want to be understood. I don't know if that will go away completely. Yeah. But I think like for me, I've seen the bigger picture. Yeah. I've seen other people not clean up their messes. I've seen what it's like to be on the impact side. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, I have room for that as well. So there's a lot of that I'm learning. I think another one would be that if I do everything, golly, everything's about me doing everything right. Let's just notice that.
Here we go.
If I parent perfectly, if I, give my kids like just enough freedom, not too much, not too little, they get just the right amount of screen time. They have enough social stuff. If they have enough stability, if I'm coaching them, like they won't need to go to therapy. Like my whole objective as, a mental health professional was like parenting success was your kids aren't going to go to therapy. They're not going to need, a spiritual director for their, teen years. They're not going to need outside help, professional help, because you did your job.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at some point driving home from, I mean, it was like from work, from Fort Riley. So it was a while ago. And I was like, one day I was like, I have to accept that it's not if my kids go, it's when. Like, just because it's like we all hurt each other, even with our best intentions. And when I loosened the reins up, again, this is another thing, like, oh, I'm not trying to be a perfect parent. I'm not trying to keep my kids out of professional help, because that actually makes me more anxious about everything I do and everything that they do. All of their responses are a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that
well? And the
impossible?
reality is, like, we are trying to minimize how much therapy they'll need, how much spiritual direction or counseling.
True. I'm not trying to send them.
Right. Yeah, we're not actively. However, the other side of that is, like, what they may need some professional help with, we may consider minor compared to other things that we know. It's like, man, I really screwed up in this area. And they may end up thinking, no, that was fine. Like, I saw you showed up. I appreciate that. It was this that you didn't do, and I need to unpack that with someone. Right? It's like, you never know what it's for.
Oh my gosh, it's
because
so true.
how it influences their thinking. And, you know, anyway, so I don't mean to sound powerless, but you do the best you can.
Yes.
And you address the issues of your impact as they come up and adjust.
You do. And I think what's interesting is, like, our parents and their parents and everything, like, I think for the most part, of course, there are some like truly evil people. Okay. But most people are trying to give their kids a little bit better than they had, even if they're not like like growth minded or, you know, working on their emotional intelligence. Like, they're trying to give, like, you know, a better life, better opportunities, provision. And I think when when you're young, and especially in the therapy culture that we have, where we like to like singularly look at our parents, we don't look at culture. We usually don't look at our peers enough. We look at our parents. We're like, you're the reason I'm screwed up. And it's like, okay, there's a lot of factors here, guys. So now, like, becoming a parent, I realize the complexity. I'm parenting a child who has similar personality to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I understand why my mom like felt so frustrated about this dynamic. Even though she has notes for herself on that, and I had notes for her, and we've talked about it. It's like, my son's gonna have notes for me about that same dynamic. And we talk about it as we go, but it's like, oh, this is hard. And so it's really interesting, because I think one of the most incredible, like, mindset shifts, expectation shifts, is that, like, again, you can do everything perfectly, right? It kind of applies to everything for me. I'm not a 3 and I'm not a 1. Don't I sound like an Enneagram 3 or a 1 when I say that?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like, it's a protective thing, though. If I do everything perfectly, I'll be safe. I'll be connected. I'll have my people. Nothing bad will happen.
True.
And so yeah, that has just really, like, I think, affected a lot of my life, and I've had to let that go. And that's been like a real wrestling match. I mean, when I went to started therapy in 2019 for that, like, I was like, woof, I was on the mat, because I was like, I firmly believe this, you know, and I had to let it go, and that's okay. That was good. Yeah. So those are a couple big ones. For me.
I'd say otherwise for me, maybe some of the decluttering, some of the soul decluttering. I think definitely thinking about my thoughts.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of like perseverating over offenses or whatever, doing that kind of soul work has been just majorly effective. Having, I don't know what you would call it, but like some things I can say to myself to de-escalate myself, my emotions, to get unstuck, to kind of shift over, allowing myself to feel my feelings, and then say, okay, I'm going to give myself 60 seconds to be as mad or sad or upset or whatever.
Well,
and then I'm going to get up off the couch and do the thing. Right?
Yes, that's really good.
Some of those things, that is so helpful when you didn't have those tools before.
Right.
Breath work, I think, is important.
Yes.
Yes. Centering, grounding techniques. Those things have been very helpful to declutter my soul. There's also some health conscious things. Nutrition.
Yes.
How much that affects anxiety, how much that affects mood.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, you've taught me a lot, if not all of this.
Oh,
but
well, thank you.
Nutrition, exercise, sleep.
Yes.
All those things.
Our little animal of our body.
Yeah, right. Just,
as Mary Oliver
feed
says.
it and care for it.
Yeah.
That has been just massively helpful to declutter my mind and my soul. And also spiritually, realizing there are certain practices that are very easy for me to integrate. Things like journaling, prayer, meditation, slowing myself down.
Yeah.
Those come very easy for me, and there's a reason for that. Doesn't mean I don't do the things that are a little bit more of a stretch practice, but I want to make sure that I'm getting those things regularly, and it's not for everyone. Like, I'll tell you one thing that I don't do. I don't prayer walk. I have friends that go, let's go do a prayer walk. And I'm like, no, I want to sit.
You want to sit, and I fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't even thinking of you. I have a couple other friends
and they're so great.
They want to hang out and they want to walk places, and I'm like, walking is good. It's good for metabolic energy.
Yes.
I absolutely understand
you
that.
do, and you're great about it.
I cannot concentrate when I walk like that. And if I'm going to get centered, if I'm going, so I will go on prayer walks as a service to other people. That is probably their grounding practice.
Yeah.
But I'm okay going. I'm not non-spiritual if I don't like certain things.
No. Oh my gosh.
If I don't like certain practice, I'm okay.
Yes.
But you really like to be in nature and connect with God.
Oh my gosh.
And I do that.
Look at my Instagram. It's like all nature.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm down in my study with an open book and an open Bible, furrowed brow.
Yeah, the furrowed brow.
I am so connected to God right now, man.
Oh my gosh,
so
I know.
That's me though. That's
no,
just
it totally
how
is, and
so.
that's been you the whole time.
Yeah.
Even though you have absolutely like shifted into nature and travel and adventure,
Totally.
and you're welcome because I've insisted on that, and then you've like developed it completely in your own way, but yeah, I think it's so interesting because I used to view you and your practices as like more spiritual. Like when we first got married, when we were dating, I looked at you and I was like, oh my gosh, he's down there with his Bible in his journal and he's like closing his eyes and he's meditating. And I was like, I'm supposed to do that. And even when I was in college, I would do silent retreats.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really a practitioner. I was trying and
exploring.
I talk a lot. So a silent retreat was like way challenging for me. I was really putting myself out there in, these kind of Catholic spaces and trying to be really like reflective. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really glad I did that. But I think when I realized like that I connect with God through nature, through journaling that I've done since I was 14, that I, connect with God. I don't do like methodical reading through the Bible and like, once a year I read the mass. I get a little bit and that is like really, really good for me and really rich. So I think like giving yourself permission, like that was really, that's a shift I've made, a declutter, like to go, oh, I have permission to be how I am.
Well, I'll tell you one more thing that's really kind of interesting as a pastor. I have friends, actually my first gig as a pastor, big emphasis on memorizing scripture. I'm not a good memorizer.
Oh.
I'm not. I know a lot of the general ideas. There are definitely scriptures that I can pull out and I know where it is. But some of it, I didn't grow up in church. I didn't grow up doing sword drills.
Yeah.
That wasn't a part of my formative whatever. But I know a lot generally about where things are.
Yes.
But I can't like sit and recite, the first 5 books of John, the Gospel of John.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't. I'm not even good. Like I don't even have like 100 scriptures memorized probably. But I know where they are.
Yeah.
Generally, and I know the takeaways from them. So I think just like
interesting,
but it's seen as more spiritual to be able to quote a lot more often. And I think it's really practical and there's probably a lot of positives.
Yeah.
But I broke up with this idea. I decluttered this idea of thinking to be spiritual means I need to.
That feels very campus ministry though. Like I use that a ton. I would just like quote scripture and connect it to another one and connect it. And that felt like currency.
Anyway. If you really want to get Bible nerd, there's no such thing as chapter and verse in the original manuscripts
There's not.
Anyway,
There's just the letters.
So that's kind of
and the
this,
books. Yep.
you're right, this kind of modern day invention for some practical, a lot of positives to it. I just like stop feeling bad about not doing it.
That's so funny because I did grow up memorizing. My mom would pray verses and then I would memorize things. And it was partly because it was very grounding for me in my early days of my faith to have those things. And that's still true. Like whether it's a saying or a quote or a verse or something that comes to me, something I hear, something I read.
Yeah.
It is like saying those words, writing those words. That's just very powerful for me. So it makes sense to me why I would do that.
And it can be like in my hangouts with John, like we've done some of the memorization, but it's mostly like, we're going to memorize Psalm 23 or the Lord's Prayer, or let's really dig into the Apostles' Creed, Nicene Creed.
Oh, that's good.
Some of the bigger ones,
the
like
grounding,
that.
yeah.
But I'm not like, okay, John, what's your scripture verse we're going to? Maybe we will. Maybe that will be grounding for him. Maybe that's what he needs. But it's just not this like go-to thing. So anyway, I know we're talking a lot about faith, but is there anything else that you've uncluttered? Any kind of mental, emotional decluttering, any kind of habit that you've gone like, I'm too old for that?
LOL to habit. So another thing that's just has been really hard is habits. Like I've really struggled. Like I don't have a routine. I, see some people's brains like want to create routines and then follow them. And my brain has a really hard time with that. So habits and routines are difficult. I maybe like anchor activities like reading the mass or something is important. And I recently took up your bullet journaling.
Right. Yeah. I was going to mention that.
And I've connected it to, my coffee.
Yeah.
So if I don't drink my coffee, I'm going to not do it. Or I'm going to have to figure out when to do it in the day.
But at some time during the week, you're going to drink coffee. So you're going to get back to it.
Yes.
I think that's really actually pretty brilliant. It's called habit stacking.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually
a
thing.
Well, no, like literally I had a client who's like, I do this at this time and I do my bullet journal. Yeah. And I was like, brilliant.
And they're triggers. So you don't even have to like think about, what do I do next? It's like, I do this together.
Yes.
That's
and
great.
I literally stole this idea from her, which is like, I love that so much that like our clients can like, we're influence each other.
Yes.
I think like a soul thing that for me has been so huge, and I do this, this is client work and it's also like I have to do it for myself, is this concept that was created through internal family systems about parts. And when I can understand that like a script that I have or a state that I get into, when I get really discouraged, like, earlier this week we were talking about some work stuff or whatever. And I was like very discouraged, like about a specific thing. And it's like a certain state that I get into. It's a physiology. So there's a physical feeling. There's a posture associated with it. There is an internal script associated with it. And it's the same thing over and over.
I've been catching on more and more. Before it was just kind of like frustrate me and I'd shut down and I'd be like, right, I'm getting out of here. But like more I'm like, okay, I just need to name it for her. Like I need to maybe reflect back. So, and pay attention to my body and how I'm, being and my tendency to like bail on but actually like sit in it.
Yeah. No, it's
what I
like,
mean?
it's not
but
fun
I'm
to
resonating
be there.
like with you naming that and going, I think there's some growth for both of us as we're having those conversations.
Yes, because sometimes you like want to talk me out of it and it won't be talked out. So one of those parts is like maybe more of a shame part, but one more is more regret, like the ignored intuition. And I've talked about that a lot. That's been really, really major. And for me, like what's helpful is just knowing that it's not me. So when we say something like, I feel bad, I feel guilty, I feel regret, or like, I'm mad that I did that, or I think I'm stupid, I should have known better. I'm worried about missing out. Like what we want to do is actually go, well, I made that choice and I had a reason for it. And so I can go, part of me regrets that. Part of me wonders why I didn't see the things coming, even though I knew I was making an informed decision at the time, or I understand the survival mode that I was in at the time. And so that logical core self that is grounded, that's connected, that part of us can see the bigger picture and understand and integrate. But when I can separate out and go, part of me is anxious, part of me thinks I'm an idiot for doing that, part of me is humiliated by this situation, part of me thinks I'm never going to get better. And it's like, getting to know that part. So it's not just like part of me, oh, I'm differentiating or dissociating. It's like being curious about that, that belief system. Where did that come from? Why is that trying to protect me? Why is that coming up? Because all emotions, have a positive intent, which is protection at the most base. And so if I'm having a feeling, if I'm having a thought, if I'm doing something, a behavior, then it's protective in some way. What's up with that? What's going on here? And so, I say this with my clients, and so like I have to do the work myself. And it has been really, really cool to have this lens coming back into my practice this time. I didn't have that last time.
Yeah.
And it's been such a relief. So that would be like a soul thing that I think I'm, naming and doing, and, we're both on the journey together. So I appreciate that.
So good.
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are you... Let's do our rapid fires.
Yeah.
Reading, watching, listening to.
Yeah. Nothing in particular is really, I did, what did I do? I started a new book. What book did I start? I have to pull it out. I think it's a Robert Mulholland book.
Okay.
Called The Deeper Journey. I think that's the one.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It's about kind of like, Robert Mulholland, Deeper Journey. It's about what he calls deeper discipleship.
Oh, okay.
Like not getting past surface level, following Jesus to like what is he really, right? There's a sense in which there's our culture, our church cultures even tell us, here's what Jesus wants, and it's like pretty shallow. And he's talking about more radical or more normal to the Bible discipleship about following Jesus, and spiritual formation, like the outworking of that, character formation, soul formation, all of that.
That's cool.
So that's been really good. So I'm like in the introduction,
okay.
But it's really good. I'm like, okay, I need to sit that down.
Like,
I need to come back to that. I need to think about that.
Yeah. I love books like that. But then I'm also like, my ADD goes, you have to keep going or you won't come back to it. But yeah, like those are so good. I'm interested to hear more because like when we have the next podcast, you'll probably have finished it. Maybe. You have some notes. I know you've been doing a lot of James Hollis too. So
yeah, it's been
in the rabbit. How
about you? What do you?
So I read this Substack essay this week, and guys, I just want to recommend it. Like, go to my Substack, Spiritual Direction for the Disaffected, or look me up, really Sarah Siders. But this particular essay was the art of being gently interesting, and it's this bookstore owner. I think she's in Thailand. And she just has a Substack. She's a beautiful writer. It's very thoughtful about like what makes somebody interesting. And I am fascinated by what makes someone interesting.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not about you traveled somewhere and you have a cool story to tell. It's part like mystery. It's part like being interested in other people. It's part like having room for silence. It's this whole like thing. And I was like, wow. And even she was talking about like revisiting music and books and art and letting ourselves be formed by things over time and getting to know them. Instead of like, I read that book. I listened to that symphony. I already did that. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to revisit this essay. Yeah. And so it says that on my Substack on the profile. So I want you guys to go read it because it's just amazing. So thoughtful. Really loved it.
Good.
Yeah. So something.
What's giving you life right now?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think like just expanding into summer and like making a plan. So I'm doing the 90-day summer sprint and Sarah at sarahsiders.com if you want to join me. So guys, this is what like I'm excited about this. Yeah. We're doing this decluttering and each month has a theme and I organized the month. And is it going to go exactly according to plan? No. but I'm making some accommodations for that. And ultimately I'll be further along than I would be if I didn't do it. 90-day sprints are so fun. And I'm going to do like Sunday evening, like planning and reporting. Like we're going to share progress and plan our week, Sunday evenings through the summer. And it's incredible what you can do and how you can change your own life. You can just really like rapidly shift the trajectory when you have like really focused time periods. So
many of us
I'm
need
doing that.
You know, we just need a quick.
We do.
Like,
let's do it. Yeah. So what are you loving? What's giving you life right now?
I've got two things.
Yeah.
Interrelated. I'm in major creative mode. So I've got just some projects that I'm building from the ground up. And then, you know, I'm working towards launching this online men's community.
Yes.
And just really excited about what that's going to offer. But then, you know, as I'm working on that, like I love having the kids at home.
Yeah.
Actually, they're great. They're great.
Fun.
They're working out. They get along so well. And, you know, they got this little workout space that they're doing and they're having a good time. And so I'm working on my projects. They're doing their stuff. They'll come in and talk to me and you know, then like today, I was like, you know, working on this fatherhood thing, and I'm working through a lot of like dads that have experienced regret. And then so I'm like,
wow,
hit pause, grab them both, we go run outside.
Cool.
Like, come on, guys.
Good for you.
You know, took James to the gym with me on Monday.
Yeah.
Took them both. We ran a mile today. Just got out in the neighborhood and, you know, just having good times.
Good.
Wanting to like just. A lot of times I have to plan it, but sometimes it's really good to be spontaneous and go, come on, guys, see if you can keep up. And, you know,
I love it.
It's really, really good.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I love it too. I just like that, you know, my personality, like I really like that kind of like the releasing of tension that happens around summer, like where it's like, all right, get up, we got to do this. Here's the schedule. And like you're running through it and it's just tight and like, there's something that feels nice about it. There's familiarity and you know what to expect, but like the loosening of that tension through the summer is so great. And then you're ready for it again in the fall. You're like, let's do this. But I just really like that. So yes, I'm so with you on that. I love and love it. You're doing that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for this week. There's so much more. I mean, honestly, we could have a Joe Rogan 3-hour sesh on what we're decluttering. I mean, maybe we'll revisit it later.
Just the mode,
as I often say, but yeah, it's the task of this season of life, and in every way, every layer of your life, you're doing it. So, curious what you're decluttering. Leave us a comment, whether you're listening or watching online, and we will see you back here next week.
Next time.
This is the In the Middle podcast with Josh and Sarah Siders. Visit inthemiddlecoaching.co for other resources, courses, and helpful tools.